Yeah, dip that. The title's still fucked.
There's a new one, I think.
No, look, I just posted it in Green Room.
That's okay.
No, title's fucked.
Okay.
Fuck.
You changed it to the stream key.
God damn it.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Oh, wait. We're on. We're on. We're actually on right now.
Where?
Yeah, we're on right now, boys. Here we go.
No, look.
Get that finally.
You finally
Yes,
figured out how to make this
absolutely
fucker work.
Oh, there we are.
Everyone
Okay.
praise Dip That for his hard
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Delete the other one. It's gonna cause confusion.
I think it's already gone. Okay, listen. I think we're good. I think we're good.
Okay.
Blame bronchitis brain or whatever. I'm sick as fuck, but we're good.
Okay. So, alright. Do you want to do the intro?
Pacman, you can do it since it's your day.
Okay, cool. So, hi everybody. Welcome to Evening with Comrades. Pacman's hosting this time, apparently, even though Dipdup's running the technical side of the stream. You can hear the collective sigh of, oh fuck, here we go, from everyone else in the stream, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, so with us today, on the right-hand side, in the blue corner, weighing 150 pounds, and with a chip on her shoulder, we have Theo.
Hi. My body type is a Conquer's missile. That's it.
That means it's wire-guided and it points where you shoot it.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving
Oh
on.
my!
Moving on with, technical issues out the ass and sounds like he's dying, although he seems to be still here. We have our China correspondent, Dip.
I'm alive. Sort of.
Close enough.
And in the black corner, even though we've only got 3 corners, we have a man who I really cannot categorize. All I know is he likes cat girls, works in a pub, and is genuinely the angriest man I've ever met. Crypto!
He is also a Conquer's missile.
No, fam, I'm a stinger missile.
Well, I like any kind of missile, so it's fine.
And looting it up with her anime voice in the blue corner. I don't know if we've gone through the blue corner already, but I don't give a shit. Have we gone through the blue corner? Okay. Snuggled up in the blue corner, we have Senna with her anime voice over here.
Oh no! Notices your booty. I will fucking die.
As you can tell,
And you
he's a Tolman.
Okay. And you have me in the unemployed line.
So you want to begin
Asad is
with the unemployed bit? Let's start with that, I guess.
Yeah, let's start with that. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, I am now no longer gainfully employed. I am on the breadline. I am a parasite on society. Your tax dollars are funding me. Because I believe Theo used the term quitted yesterday.
Yeah.
And I can talk about it. So basically what happened, not going into too finer details because, technically not supposed to talk about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I may or may not have waived the cancellation fee of a pensioner who was moving homes. And I work for a or used to work for a telecommunications company. And they were moving home, and they needed to cancel their services because they couldn't afford them, and they needed a cheaper solution. So I provided them with that cheaper solution, and waived the cancellation fees because I'm not going to charge a pensioner $250 to change service type. They're not even leaving the company; they were changing service, but I wasn't going to do that. So I waived it, and I got caught. And so yeah.
No good deed ever goes unpunished. I don't know what rule of acquisition that is, but it's one of them.
Rule of acquisition number 23, I think.
Enough Star Trek.
Yup. So yes, I took a stand on the moral high ground, and they used it and beat me over the head with it. I am now looking for new work. Don't worry, guys. Thankfully, it wasn't my bosses who fired me. It was my boss's bosses who fired me. All of my bosses actually didn't want to fire me. They quite liked me because I made them a lot of money. Filthy capitalist that I am. So I've got good references. I'll be fine. But yeah, that's what happened to me.
It's the
But it does.
285th rule of acquisition. Carry on.
Actually, is it? Is it? Yeah, that's right. Okay, I knew I had a 2 at the start. But yes. Yes. So I'm being a parasite on society, on the breadline, living it up, you know. And I think that story is quite pertinent because it sort of starts us off on the right foot because you talk about the moral implications of working in a capitalist system, especially in a non-productive or non-administrative job role. When you're doing sales, you're actively contributing to the capitalist machine and being forced to work for it. And I decided to buck the system, and I got stepped on for it. But I don't feel bad. I mean, not having money sucks, but apart from that, no. I'm feeling pretty proud of that stand I took. So yeah. So
And you should.
Yeah,
time
you
to
should.
get a new-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did nothing wrong.
Yep,
Peter did-
I'm
Peter did
like
nothing
Comrade
wrong.
Stalin himself. Anyway, moving on.
Oh. So you fucked your niece as well.
Oh god.
Oh, so wait,
Yep.
wait. You had sex with a 13-year-old and got her pregnant and then got run out of town? In your 30s?
Oh yeah, Stalin did that. Fun fact. Anyway,
Yes.
Didn't get run out of town.
He did.
Didn't sleep with a 13-year-old.
I'm concerned that
Good.
you're not denying the fact that the part about your niece. But anyway,
Yeah, well, I don't have one. There's the issue.
Mm.
But you
anymore. What?
I'm trying to check my qualifications and my guilt against this analogy. No, I think I'm good. To be honest, yeah.
Alright.
I'm gonna make his gulags look like a summer vacation. But anyway, have you ever heard of nuclear winter? Anyway, moving on.
Right,
Oh,
Quiet
I mean,
gulag.
I quite
Oh.
prefer nuclear summer, to be quite honest.
Nuclear summer is the first part. That's the best part, right?
Doesn't last very long
Almost heaven.
either.
West. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so enough about my woe is me, endless resistance against capitalism. The only thing I'm really pissed off about is the fact that I can't quote Capital or Karl Marx to my customers anymore, which really makes me sad.
Damn.
Well, there will come another day. There will come another day, comrade.
And that means I am now a union rep with no workplace to rep. So, okay, gonna go find another place to spread the infection. But
An infection is harmful to the body, Pacman.
well,
You're
the body
more
is
like-
capitalism.
That's true, alright, fair.
Yeah. It's, so
Yeah.
Are we segue into the fucking bumfuck nowhere elections?
Oh
Yeah,
boy,
elections.
the bumfuck nowhere election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine fucking voting. Am I right?
Yeah, I know.
Fucking
Right.
cucks.
You want me to start?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go. Do your thing.
Hi. I live in a very small country in the middle of Central Europe. It's very insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and it's kind of like meh in Europe. I live in Austria. We had elections recently, and the results are actually quite significant in the long run. So I'm going to start us off by just going through the major political parties that are currently represented in Parliament, and then we're going to talk about the election results of the last time, and then the results of the election we just had. So currently the strongest party and most likely to become the to keep putting out the chancellor is the Austrian People's Party, the ÖVP, which is conservative party. Well, they represent interest groups such farmers, lobbyists, and bankers, which is a very interesting combination there. But in Austria, there has always been a very strange linking and intertwining between the most of the land for much of the Habsburg period was owned by what basically kulaks. That's the best way I can describe it. They are very closely intertwined with the Austrian banking system, whose main purpose in the 1800s was to siphon money out of the eastern provinces into Austria proper. And after the Iron Curtain fell, the Raiffeisenbank continued that tradition, bought up a bunch of land in Romania, and is now using that for a giant market bubble and crashing several post-Soviet economies. So, yeah, the eternal Austrian.
The eternal Österreich.
Yeah, der ewige Österreicher. Anyway, next up we've got the Social Democrats, the sock them milk toast as milk toasts to have a milk toast.
The social fascists.
Yeah, the social fascists.
Well, to be fair though, they're better. They're better than the SPD, even though that's not saying much. They're okay. They're just bad and toothless. That's because they've been trying to make coalition with a party whose values are perpendicular to their own. So that we all, I say yes, you say no. We're not going to get much. There's no middle ground between yes and no. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
the
Yeah.
middle ground is to just shoot the opposition, but
I'm all for that, to be honest.
Well, again,
Oh,
this is
but-
more of Mr. John Bolton, Peter Bolton. Because-
Yes, well, they've been very instrumental in shaping how the country looks like today. Most of the social reforms that Austria has was done by the Social Democrats in the 70s. Most there, sort of left-leaning assembly split off into a separate party, to which we will get in a moment. But first, the far right. Die Freiheitliche Partei Österreichs, the FPÖ, is a party that was founded in 1949 by former SS members after the denazification was quote-unquote complete.
And I would like to
with the expressed purpose of reinstating the economic policies of the Third Reich.
Yeah,
What were you saying, Crypto?
and if I may, let's just say that when myself and Senna were in Austria, they're the billboards.
Yeah.
They made good sticker boards. Just saying.
Yeah.
It was
It was fun.
I will add to that I live in like one of their main areas, which is why the representation stickers
Yeah,
post is very
really-
skewed.
yeah. I
Major
really wanted to
metropolitan-
fucking. I wanted to fucking finesse the one banner they had hanging over one of the buildings.
Oh yeah, that was the party center of the center of the city. Anyway, but back to what I said earlier about the Social Democrats, that most of their left-wing assembly split off into a separate. Well, that was in an incident where the Social Democrats basically wanted to cut down an important nature reserve to build a highway tunnel through and a major protest rally. Oh, Jesus. A major protest movement erupted around. And then Social Democratic government cut down the forest anyway. And so a lot of people split off from the Sockdems and formed another political party. This entity became known as the Green Alternative, Grüne Alternative, or the Greens for short. Everyone calls them the Greens. No one calls them the Green Alternative because that's the mouthful.
I just got this image of a bunch of hippies, like with fucking emo side fringe hair.
Except they're union organizers and old school social democrats.
Come on, green alternative. Never mind. Sorry.
Then one of the newer ones, the Neos, who are just liberals. That's it. Liberalism hip. They're the
You never make liberalism hit.
They're the 12th party. This is not a joke. They're the 12th party to attempt this, and they have so far been the most successful one.
Jesus.
So it probably
Being the most
helps that-
successful isn't really an achievement in this case. Really.
Yeah, it probably helps that they are the first party of this kind that wasn't a literal splinter group of far right, but
Yeah.
because the far right had always been this sort of weird mixture group between, for some reason, market liberals and fascists, and now it's just fascists.
Because they're social fascists. It's fine. That's it.
Anyway,
Oh boy.
so back in 2017, we have had we were at the Jesus Christ, Dip Dab, you're breathing into your mic.
Oh, sorry. I remember. I'm kind of sick, dying.
Right, die
fixed.
silently, please.
Jeez.
That
I'm
sounded a
sorry.
bit.
That sounds cruel. I'm sorry. That's a common expression.
Honestly,
in
it's
German.
okay. It's okay. I've been told the same thing.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's a
fine.
common expression in German.
It is
Yeah,
here
you're
as
fine.
well. It is.
Yeah, no, but we've had a coalition since the year 2008 between the Social Democrats and the Conservative Party. With the Social Democrats in lead. Then 2017, Soc Dems took a nosedive. Conservatives became strongest party. They made a coalition with the far right. Then sat on their thumbs for a year and a half, and then they were convicted of corruption and several other felonies, and were forced to resign. And then the parliament moved to make a vote of no confidence against the chancellor, and it succeeded. To which I might add, this is the first time in the 70-year history of the Second Republic that a vote of no confidence against the chancellor has succeeded. So, yeah, pretty significant. But then if we look at the election results. On first glance, it looks like a huge win for the Conservatives because they gained 5%. But it's an election victory at the expense of their coalition partner, and that's a bad thing for them. Because overall, their government is going to be weaker. Because the far right this time were the ones to take a massive nosedive and lose 10% of the vote.
It tends to be the same with electoral far right politics. Europe over as well. Like, it kind of reminds me of when UKIP enjoyed a massive upsurge in popularity in the early 2010s, and then basically just they had like one major success where they won like council elections in England. Then after that, they just kind of faded into obscurity.
Yeah, but Austrian electoral politics are very different. What it is here is that they're usually stable. They have been stable for the past 70 years, like with only gradual changes of like 2%, plus 2%, minus 1%, plus 3%. That's sort of how this goes. But there never have been any abrupt fluctuations and changes. It was always gradual. And now it's all shaken up. Far right has taken a nosedive. Most of the ministers were forced to resign and were barred from ever holding public office. Some people are going to go to prison. Most of them aren't because too many people are implicated, as is the norm here for these kind of trials. But more importantly, the Greens, who were actually ousted from Parliament last time because they did some incompetency shit. They weren't as transparent as they should have been. They cleaned up and started a very, very aggressive campaign centered around climate change. They put forward comprehensive plans on how to get off of fossil fuels, on how to cut down our country's carbon footprint by incentivizing public transportation to a degree where we can reduce to a point where we can reduce the amount of times people will need their car or will need a car at all if they live in major cities. And a bunch of other such ambitious initiatives. Yeah, they gained 10%, which is the strongest they've been in a long, long time, and this is the most that a party has gained in a single voting attempt in the history of the Second Republic. So, what does this mean? Yeah, we're going to have another run of, most likely going to have another run of conservative far-right coalition, but with a only technical majority, which is not going to be strong enough to pass any laws, because at this point, they are at the point where any single party, opposition party, saying, nope, we're not going to have you pass this law, is enough to block them passing an actual law. So, like a proper law. They can try and push it through the Federal Assembly, but that's usually not going to go well. Yeah, we're going to have a completely paralyzed fire coalition that's probably going to fall apart within less than a year. Means more elections.
Stagnation. It's beautiful.
It's actually not stagnation. We've seen this before in the end of the 60s. What it usually means, it's the end of a certain assembly, like of a certain political assembly. In the late 60s, there was upsurge in conservative popularity, and everyone else sort of plummeted, and there was like,
Yeah.
how now we're gonna get up.
Yeah.
And then they fucked up again and again, and then they were like, oh yeah, now we're gonna be successful again, right? And then the Social Democrats ruled the country alone 12 and a half years.
Yeah. It's kind of like one of those things, like when I think about obviously the scandal that gripped Austria with the FPÖ and all that, I just remember things being handled with so little pomp and circumstance. It was very much official, very clean. But then again, I guess you could probably say that for both Austria and Germany, is that they deal with these things very efficiently.
Oh, that's another reason.
And
this is the 86th disciplinary action that has been taken against this party within this decade.
I wonder why.
The 86th. Not all of them on the federal level, but yeah.
Gee, I wonder why. Perhaps it's because they're filled with fucking Holocaust deniers.
It's such an open secret that the political right is literally so corrupt in this country that but people don't even vote them for their policies anymore. They just vote them because they're racist.
Yeah.
They're racist like me, so I will vote for them.
No, there's this concept in Austrian politics known as protest voting.
Mm-hmm.
So most of their voters are literally just voting for them because they want to piss people off.
Mm-hmm.
They're contrarians.
Yeah.
The FPÖ is actually quite significant in online discourse because they were using the playbook that the alt-right is using now back in the 80s. They wrote the playbook. The rules that the far right is playing by now internationally was written by Jörg Haider and his cronies in the late 1980s.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's actually very, very significant because so much is breaking down. The FPÖ is running out of people they can actually put into office.
God.
Yeah, because so many of them have been convicted of, let's see, aggravated assault, petty theft, drunk driving, assault, attempted murder, corruption. Domestic terrorism. There was a guy he threw a Molotov into a rival local politician's home.
This is like if Adam Waffen people made a political party.
Oh,
Like
God.
this is like the dumb neo-Nazis made a political
No.
party.
Okay, you know what this is?
What?
You know, like look into high schools and you'll see the half-shaven alt-right boy that's like, I'm an ironic fascist kind of deal. If those make about 50,000 of those people and put them in charge of a country, and that's what we're dealing with.
That's. Oh God, I was going to say something, and it's the thing is that European far right parties, they seem to have this I'm obviously British, but there isn't really a mainstream far right party in the UK at the minute. Most far right movements in the UK are at the street level, but the thing is, like, what I've noticed with far right political parties in mainland Europe, a lot of them have a reputation for violence. A lot of them have a reputation for crime. Like, not just obviously the FPÖ, but also Golden Dawn in Greece, Eastern European far-right parties. I actually remember there was a post that was going about for the main Polish far-right party, Narodowe Odrodzenie Polska, National Rebirth of Poland, that basically had a poster that said, "Fascism, we're worse."
Oh,
Yeah. Also, the difference to the FPÖ there is that the FPÖ is also made up just of rich kids.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
which
I'd like to
explains why they're
correct
total
Comrade
pussies.
Crypto. I need to correct Comrade Crypto.
Yes.
I need to correct him because he's talking a myth. What's Poland? I think you mean West Belarus.
Okay, shut up. Okay, yeah, let's move on. But the FPÖ is also as I said, made up of rich kids. Like one of their biggest contention in one of their first mainstream appearances where they were like trying to bash themselves out of fucking third grade sort of backlog was where they were complaining that in 1979 the Austrian Republic forbade people from flying from basically using old noble titles from the days of the Habsburg monarchy, and that ruffled their feathers. But their real first mainstream appearance. So in the south, down with the borders of with Slovenia, there's a sizable Slovenian minority. They've lived there for ages. They're there. But in the 1920s, they voted to remain with Austria instead of joining with Yugoslavia. So we have a lot of places down south there that have what's it called? Like town signs that are in two languages, in German and then in Slovenian.
Hmm.
And one of the FPÖ's first real push-outs was by Jörg Haider. Talk about him in a moment. Who basically wanted to get rid of that because it's degrading. He called it. Now Jörg Haider is a character. The man destroyed Carinthia, sold half of the state's assets to shady Bavarian investors, is partly responsible for jump-starting the Greek economic crisis by incentivizing the Lehman Brothers, basically telling the Lehman Brothers to go invest down there because he owned a bunch of assets down there that they wanted them to buy.
And just after that, Golden Dawn got into Golden Dawn enjoyed a fucking upsurge in popularity. Gee, I wonder why he would have done that.
So
Hmm.
also, Jörg Haider
Things
was
must go,
just an unapologetic fascist. He did not deny the Holocaust. When asked if he condemns the Holocaust, his response was that he thinks that forced labor camps are a legitimate form of punishment for criminal actions. Yeah.
Damn.
And the man died after. He was also a massive anti-Semite, but that should go without saying. The man died after drinking 3 bottles of vodka and then driving at 140 kilometers an hour down a highway into America.
What? Say again, Theo?
He drank 3 bottles of vodka and then drove down a highway at 120 kilometers an hour into a.
So you're saying the
Only
one
3 bottles of vodka?
So no, Theo, you're telling me that the one good thing this man did in his life was kill himself, basically.
Yes.
Damn. He followed
Best part,
his,
best
the
part.
best thing is he followed his leader.
Best
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, he did.
There's huge conspiracy theories. They think he was assassinated. Get this, by the Mossad.
Damn. Damn.
To this day, there are thousands of people who are convinced that a man who was a frequent alcoholic, who basically drank himself to death several times during his tenure, and has reportedly drank 3 bottles of vodka before stepping into his sports car and driving down a highway at full speed into a barricade. No, that was foul play. He was poisoned by the Mossad because he was exposing Israel or something.
Oh my god. Like this fucking what is it with fascists and drink driving and crashing and dying in car accidents? Because like this is here's the thing.
I should add to that the nonsensicalness of that because historically in Austrian politics, the far right has been very close to the Israelis, literally just because they're contrarians, and historically the left, even the center left, has been supportive of the Palestinian cause in Austria.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like you ever hear of straight out of Compton, but in this guy's case, it's straight out of brake lines.
Yeah.
Same with
Well,
Ian Stuart
That's
Donaldson.
Strache, the former party leader. He did a lot of cocaine. They confiscated a lot of cocaine from houses that he owned. Oh, also he housed illegal immigrants in one of the compounds he owned, and his response to the police was literally, "I don't remember owning that house."
I don't remember owning.
That's
Sure,
not a joke.
buddy.
His actual legal defense was, "I do not remember owning this compound."
Jesus fucking Christ! Austrian politics is a fucking wild ride. It's
This-
like, because that's the thing. You've got all these fucking crazy things going on, and it fucking deals with it in the most like fucking way that has this fucking smoothest, least eventful way of dealing with it.
Yes, and this is because we're all fucking insane, but we're also fucking bureaucrats.
This is more insane than our last governor, who was like, he had a burner phone that he used to like have illicit activities with his secretaries, but he left it in a city by the coast, the phone. So he had the state fly him on the state jet back to get the burner phone.
Oh my god.
Well,
Right.
you know,
So
you
this is
know,
a great segue. Great segue.
that's not a problem. That's not a
There's a-
problem because you know, you can't let your wives and girlfriends meet. Okay, it's not a
Then he
good
got
good
put in jail.
There's a no. This is a great thing I want to talk about. There's a castle in so there was a big scandal where the Bank the Hypo Alpe Adria just sort of made money disappear.
The magic trick.
Interesting. A fun unrelated fact, most of the bank overseers and bank high ups have strong connections to the far right.
Hmm.
Now there's a
Curious.
castle in Carinthia where that was often visited by Jörg Haider. In that castle was a brothel. Also, on a completely unrelated note, also in that castle was a well, this castle was frequented by Jörg Haider, who we talked about just a moment ago, and his friends. And interestingly, also in that castle was a Hypo Alpe Adria bank.
You might need to English that up a bit for some of us.
Well, that's the bank I just talked about.
Ah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Look, I'm stupid, okay?
So, what was basically going on down there? He met with people there, mostly conservative politicians. He and his friends, where they illegally sold state assets to each other and to foreign investors, and those payments of illegal bribe monies and whatnot was conveniently made in the friendly bank that was right next to the strip club in that castle. Fun how that works.
A castle and a strip club. I think I need to go to fucking Austria.
You're cute.
Crypto, if you see a castle and it's not a museum, it's a brothel. That's just kind of a rule here.
That's true.
Yeah, so, you know, we're not fazed by these things because this is normal to us. Like, and, well, Austria's perpetually on fire. Also on fire, literally all of Asia.
Most of
Dip down.
Asia. Oh boy. Oh
Yeah.
boy. Now, before we get to that, though, I want to do a shout out to those fucking, what are they? The people in what? Chile right now?
Chile, yep.
The,
Yeah.
the sort of, cells of fire people?
Yes, if you give me 1 second, I will get the literal translation for you. But basically, there is an organization that has been established. Well, it's more a rough coalition than anything else, and they said in the statement that this would be the only time that they refer to themselves as a single group.
Mhm.
But basically, the name of the group translated to English is Antagonic Cores of the New Urban Guerrilla, which in Spanish is Núcleos Antagónicos de la Nueva Guerrilla Urbana. And this group is, I think it is somewhat modeled after the conspiracy of fire cells from Greece, who are anarcho-nihilist militants who are pretty fucking based, I'm not gonna lie. Nihilism is a school of thought that I lack any kind of involvement with, but they are very much. They are. I do critique their rejection of class struggle, but at the same time, they hate state, they hate capitalism. They're my comrades.
Okay,
Just like
can I
that.
interject
Oh,
real
yeah.
quick?
Go ahead.
I just remembered this because someone just like sent this to me, and I remembered it again. One of the election posters for basically a successor party of Jörg Haider's movement had that their slogan was "Always Forward," and it was their new party leader. And like when this came out back in like 2012, someone took that image and edited it, and it's like "Always Forward," but it's an image of Jörg Haider's crashed car. And
love
it's
it.
my favorite thing, and it gets posted every election cycle. Anyway, let's carry on. I just really wanted to share this information with the stream.
Before I move on to the Hong Kong stuff, though, about those people, crypto, little bit different, but I went to the bookstore yesterday and I saw they had the Invisible Committee books.
Oh yes,
In
coming
print.
insurrection.
They had both of them. Okay. So next on this is Hong Kong is continuing to fuck shit up.
Yeah,
I think
remember those?
I think if we're like going on to the as well, like the topic of Hong Kong and seeing as how it's general Asia, I think it might also be a good idea to speak about something that hasn't really been spoken about, and that is the protest movement in Indonesia that's been kicking off
Yes.
recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna add that. I think that was actually, yeah, that is in the things we were gonna talk about. It's just the Asia on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. But you remember those 5 demands that the Hong Kong protesters had?
But it's 6
Well-
They've added a 6th one.
That 6th one is,
Mom?
and that 6th one is the, hold on. Yes, the abolition of the Hong Kong police force.
Get fucking dabbed on.
Yeah.
Abolish the police.
Here's the thing. It is one thing to want, the PRC to fuck the fuck off out of Hong Kong. It is another thing entirely to demand the abolition of the entire fucking police force.
Mm-hmm.
That in it, like, I don't know obviously where they're gonna go with it, but
I can actually answer that with the slogans that they put out, because they say, basically, hold on, let me actually pull this up. It's written in English, so this is rule of law has failed us. There is a better social norms, basically, and then we could now call for the abolition of the Hong Kong.
Oh
Okay.
my fucking god, yes.
If I may quote a great man, and I'll do it in my best poetry voice. Yo, scum motherfucker, I ain't the one who's a punk ass bitch with a badge and a gun who keeps beating on. Fuck the police.
And I will quote
Christ.
my favorite piece of graffiti from the protest movement. In the beginning, there was no such thing as the police.
Yep.
Yes.
And so this was started by a bunch of radical left-wing organizers, but this has now been adopted by basically the broad front of Hong Kong
Yeah.
protesters.
I would also. There's one thing I would like to bring attention to, Dip Dap. I'm not sure if you've heard about this, but Jake Hanrahan, the person behind Popular Front and the Ukrainian anarchist documentary, used to work for Vice. Really cool guy. He has actually been in Hong Kong recently. He has been filming a documentary that should be out in the next couple of weeks. But
Ooh.
he has recently been posting about what sets Hong Kong's movement apart is it's basically its entire structure is basically mutual aid, and how grassroots the tactics of the protest movement are. And I'm not just talking about I'm not just talking about things working with students and all that. Like, because here's the thing: a lot of the protesters in Hong Kong are young. They're students. They're 15, 16, 17, and their parents have a lot of the parents have disowned them for protesting. So, basically, people created a network of open apartments to which young partisans could retreat and stay temporarily. And in response to minibuses, buses, and subway trains no longer being safe for escaping protesters, carpool networks were actually formed on Telegram, the encrypted messaging service, to pick kids up from school. And apparently there were elderly drivers who didn't even know how to operate Telegram, but they drove repeatedly around the hotspots reported by the radio news, watching for running protesters who needed a quick ride out of danger.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing, and and I think this kind of flies in the face of the Western liberals, the LARPers, the hobbyists, the tankies, who are saying, "Oh, it's not grassroots, it's not left enough." This is quickly morphing into a very anti-state, anti-hierarchical movement. There are genuine anarchos on the front lines in Hong Kong, and this sort of behaviour needs to be not copied, but basically we need to watched and then emulated and adapted to our material circumstances over here, because God fucking knows we are going to need it at some point in the next few years.
Like the bread riots in 1917 didn't start out as a fucking,
communist uprising.
Yeah, but Bolsheviks quickly developed into the lead figureheads of that movement, well, quickly over the course of a few months. And here's the thing: even if this uprising is bloodily beaten down, which it might, because I've just read a thing where several brigades of Type 99 tanks have been spotted just across the pond from Hong Kong. So,
Oh, great.
Here we go.
Apparently, one of the
Nothing
only
extra.
reasons they're not crossing is that they're afraid that if they do, people might start blowing up the bridges.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they
that's
will.
the-
Oh
that's the
fucking
thing.
yeah, they will.
That's the fucking thing. The Chinese army, here's the thing. They could go into Tiananmen Square. It was one square in one city. You cannot, and this is an occupying force going into an island. The fight, I would liken this actually, not to Tiananmen Square, but Israel and the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
If China sets foot in Hong Kong, The fighting will be street by street, house by house, skyscraper by skyscraper, and room by room.
Yeah, because when you put troops into the city, everyone in Hong Kong will feel unsafe. And what happens when everyone feels unsafe? They feel like they have nothing to lose. And what does a population that feels that they have nothing to lose but everything to gain do, my friends? What do they do?
Revolt.
Yes, exactly.
Now, here's another thing, though, that's really interesting. A lot of them already feel that way. They've already reached that precipice of not caring. And I'm gonna reference the frontliners here. We are prepared to die. People are writing their last will and testament before they go out now. They do not give a shit.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah, it's like
Let me say this. Even if the Chinese army manages to brutally destroy this uprising, whatever we want to call it, even if it manages to suppress this, it is still not just a chink in their armor, it's basically them losing their armor. It signals the beginning of, well, the end of like of the passiveness that we've seen over the past 35 years, really, like
yeah,
all across the globe, because this kind of uprising is going to happen again. And
yes, it
again,
is,
Civility.
and again.
and it's going to spread, and it's already spreading. And I would actually like to a little thing for the larpers, the hobbyists, and tankies. Even though our comrades in Hong Kong, like you might say that our comrades in Hong Kong are not doing a good job. It's not the way you want it to be, bitch. They are doing a better job at being leftist than you are sitting on your fucking keyboard typing away at how dang is your fucking god.
Okay, but China has a red flag. Have you thought about that?
Oh yeah, a red flag. The revolution died when Mao died. The capitalist rulers have taken China. And to be quite honest, the fact that these people are supporting capitalist rulers over Mao himself really tells you about where their allegiances actually lie.
Wasn't Deng at one point out like fucking banished to the countryside?
He was.
And also, I wonder why Dengists talk about the Gang of Four, and they forget who was in the Gang of Four.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mao Zedong's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really makes you think.
But speaking of things spreading, there is also things that are coming out of Indonesia. Now, a little bit of a history lesson for our comrades who might not be aware. Indonesia had one of the largest communist parties in Asia, in Southeast Asia. And during I believe it was the 1980s, I think. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, the 1980s. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually it was 1960. It was mid 1960s. The American government backed a military dictatorship that basically launched a mass-scale purge and assassination and genocide campaign of members of the Communist Party of Indonesia. And the estimated death toll is anywhere between 500,000 and 3 million.
That's Sukarno, I believe, was his name.
That was, I think if I can... Yes, Sukarno. And this explains why to be a leftist in Indonesia takes fucking guts. Like, these people are living under essentially a softer version of Pinochet. And I need to fucking see if I can bring up the fucking demands act. But basically, a lot of it is anti-corruption, if I am understood correctly. Give me 1 second. It's not just a lot of it is to do with, again, basically the Indonesian government has really been fucking up in terms of the environment. There are uncontrollable fires that are happening because obviously And that's the thing. There are pictures of Indonesia right now where the sky is literally blood red from the amount of fires that have been happening. And it's a lot of it is student led, and it's a very it's legislation that stymies anti-corruption agents. So a lot of it is very anti-government and anti-corruption. Now, these riots, I'm gonna leave an article for you guys. It's pretty fucking good, to be quite honest. And the thing is like, Indonesia actually has a pretty strong anarchist movement. And no doubt they will be at these protests as well. But moving on from Indonesia, we also have news coming from South Korea, from Seoul. Dip, would you perhaps like to enlighten us on that?
So my understanding of the stuff happening in Seoul is it's riots against the current government? Or is it what? I think that Theo was one that found this. I haven't looked much into it because
Yeah,
my
it's like right. It's yeah.
because my thing
I
is
think
mainly on the Sinosphere.
I looked a little bit into this. It's basically the far right protesting the center government. Sort of
Yeah.
massive. They think they're being too soft on the north and all that
Oh, yeah.
stuff, and there have been some
Some
scandals in the Ministry of Justice, which is the main thing that sparked the protest. Actually,
Yeah.
Has it-
um,
yeah, South Korea has had lots of problems with governmental corruption, even going back to the days of Kim Jong Il. I think I actually remember there was someone who was the female president of
The one
South-
that was like in a cult.
yeah.
Oh yeah, the one who was in the Moonies. Oh god.
Yeah.
yeah.
South Korea has a very long history of, well, not a very long history, but their recent history is dotted with a lot of political corruption scandals.
Oh yeah.
And
What do you
perhaps,
expect from a country that was founded by Syngman Rhee, a literal fascist?
that is true. And, well,
Actually, a fascist that was so violent and militant that the US took away all of his military equipment.
fucking hell. But yeah, the whole thing is like, I guess we can hold out some hope that perhaps Indonesia and Hong Kong will shape stuff going on in Seoul, but I think because I obviously don't know the full details of it, it might be that the right wing has a pretty firm grip on these protests,
Hmm.
and a lot of them have the attitude towards, the very anti-DPRK, which obviously I don't think any of us can fault them for being a little apprehensive of the North, but wanting to fucking straight up resume hostilities, that's not a fucking good thing. Especially, when your neighbour to the north has fucking artillery shell, has fucking hundreds of thousands of millions of artillery shells,
Yeah.
nuclear weapons, tons of tanks.
I mean, yeah, they're shitty nuclear weapons, but they're gonna hit Seoul.
Yeah, they will hit. They might not hit fucking Washington, but they will without a doubt hit Seoul.
A little history
Critical
lesson.
critical support for the South Korean fascists to start World War III.
That's
Bit
a
of
quote.
A short history
No.
lesson about some things in South Korea is I think I don't know if everyone here knows about the Bodo League massacre,
I've heard of it.
the anti-communist massacre that was done by the Korean government in 1950 that was backed by the United States that killed between 100,000 and 200,000 people.
Yeah, I think I have heard of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Which
This does
is-
not shock.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but being next to, North Korea isn't really an excuse when Hong Kong is developing into what it's developing into.
Yeah.
And is literally biting the PRC.
Yeah.
So when the cop shot the protester did survive, but she is being charged with rioting, which could be 12 years in prison. But when they shot, people stormed the police that shot her and then beat the shit out of him
Yeah, nearly beat him to death.
until the other cops ran them off.
There's also another thing that I actually heard is that I think it was a 14-year-old boy was actually shot in the leg. I think
Mm-hmm.
that he might have actually been younger. And it's just like the fact that live rounds are starting to get used. I think this does. I would.
Escalation.
It's
That's a bad
escalating.
sign.
It's an escalation, but it's kind of shooting themselves in their own foot because the more hostile they get, the more hostile the others will get, and the more people will start running out of the buildings at
Yeah.
them.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Have you also noticed that the UK and the US and Canada, these countries have like back during the beginning of the Hong Kong protest movement, they've kind of they were all over it saying, "Oh yeah, have you noticed that they've kind of faded away and have stopped
Yeah.
talking about it now?"
Yes, despite the fact that it's gotten way more severe.
Yeah, I guess that's because they're calling for the abolition of the fucking police force, and a lot of it is taking on a very anti-hierarchical, very like a very anarchist character.
Yeah, the reason we still have as much information about what's going on in there as it is because Hong Kong is a fucking metropolis, and
Yeah.
you can't just cut off outside communication entirely.
Yeah.
They just
Oh, I would also like to say I actually heard about this. Basically, there was an app on the App Store that allowed Hong Kong protesters to actually track the movements of the police.
Yeah.
The Apple Store has
Ooh.
now taken that offline. It's taken it off the App Store
Of course they have.
because it's saying that it allows rioters to evade law enforcement.
that's the point. Yeah.
But of course,
Yeah.
It's the idea.
Apple is firmly behind the fucking Chinese government. Because
Where do you think all their equipment comes
yeah,
from?
exactly. Who the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna fucking say that. They need someone to fucking work it. They need someone to fucking operate their sweatshops, and
Yeah.
where there's like little fucking workers' law. Yeah, really feeling that communism and that
Really love
socialism
when
and that
the fucking
shit.
the Marxists in China get arrested. Any
Hey,
labor
hey,
organizer gets arrested.
hey, you shut up. Those suicide nets are very comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, they are actually.
God.
The warm,
Um,
sweet embrace.
Yeah, Only Bro in the chat's talking about how there's a trade war between South Korea and Japan right now as well.
Yeah,
Ooh.
also protests against the government in Kyoto.
Oh shit.
Aren't
I fucking and Japanese protests are usually very left wing, unless you're talking about those fucking.
Oh yeah, it's the Communist Party. Yeah.
okay?
Unless you're talking about the like the only like right wing protests that ever happen in fucking Japan is those guys who put like the emperor banner with all the
Hmm.
war writing on and drive around in their fucking with the speaker on
Guys,
yelling
do you
at the
remember?
populace.
Oh my god.
Do you remember those like protests in the 1980s where the fucking protesters formed a literal phalanx and had an
Yes.
actual the police where they beat broom?
critical support for the Japanese Red Army.
Dude, the Japanese are fucking great. Okay,
They were.
they reformists now, but like thing that I really love about their position about the Japanese self-defense force, they're like, the military, the actual military. Once we have achieved communism, first order of business, abolish the military.
That's the. I think actually, I think we're actually planning on moving on. Like we're taking this because obviously we've got the stuff in Asia, but I do actually have some developments from Ireland actually,
Ooh, what is that?
which I think we could cross over this into quite well. Basically, the government of the Irish Republic has confirmed that they are going to be stationing armed Gardaí. Gardaí are the Irish police. They are going to be stationing armed Gardaí patrols across the border with the north, and Boris Johnson has basically told the British government and told Parliament that custom checks along the border with the Republic will be a reality. Now, dear comrades, brothers, sisters, friends, that's a violation of
the Good Friday Agreement.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And now I think we can kind of take this into the direction we're going to, and that is these movements are spreading across the world. We've got the stuff in Chile, we've got
Yeah,
the stuff
Haiti.
in Hong Kong, in Haiti. Stuff's going to kick off in the UK, and I think, and obviously we've had the stuff, like obviously we haven't had riots or anything kicking off in the US, but we've had a lot of combative language coming from
Yeah,
the
also,
US administration, and
Also,
yeah.
Oh, we
yeah.
have stuff
Industrial-
in
a lot of
Iraq. Stuff in Iraq now.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the
also
riots in
industrial
Iraq as
action
well.
in Detroit, so that
Yeah.
is still a thing.
Yes,
My
and
man Max actually put it pretty well in the
Yeah.
chat. We are living in an 1848 society.
pretty much, yeah. But I think as well, the interesting thing is, like, again, Trump is now actively using things like civil war, coup, and now, and the thing is, like, this is beginning to whip his supporters up into a frenzy. Like, the 3%ers have already said that if Trump is impeached, they will start kicking off. Now, the question I would like to say to you guys, like, we've got fires burning all over the world. Is this it? Is this
Burn,
is our
baby,
time
burn.
come?
We're getting really damn close.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
so
The other thing I have to say
Just
about
can't
the
hide
US, though. Okay, never mind.
Go on, Kitty.
Well, the only thing I have to say about the US is with, Trump trying to whip everyone up in a frenzy. Yeah, people are saying a lot of shit, but the thing is, in my experience with American right-wingers, yeah, you've got some hardline, actually serious fascists who will absolutely do some shit, but a lot of your, like, Trump fanboys and stuff, their whole thing is not taking things seriously. I think
Oh yeah.
you get a lot of them who are like, oh yeah, I'll fucking do all this, blah, 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 and when push comes to shove, they just stay
Yeah.
home. They're kind of LARPers.
Yeah. It
I'm
was
sure there will be some people actually causing trouble, but I don't think it's quite as many as the people who are, like, saying they're gonna.
yeah.
Because, seriously, American right-wingers, most of them are cowards
Hey,
and doing it for the
there's-
memes
there-
and other
there's-
dumb shit.
There's two new ones. Baghdad and in Palestine.
Yeah.
What's
10
going on in Palestine?
uh,
I know it's not
Palestinian
Riots.
dies in violent riots on Gaza border as IDF chief visits.
nowadays, but yeah,
In Baghdad, at least 10 dead and more than 200 injured as riot police opened fire.
yeah, and the whole thing is like we are entering a stage now where social insurrection is becoming. It's like I can't actually. After looking back, I can't exactly imagine it. I can't think of a time where the world has been this politically volatile.
Yeah. Oh, also riots in
Ecuador.
Egypt.
Yeah, right. It's
Ecuador.
in Egypt. Ecuador as well. And yeah,
Kazakhstan. Yeah, there as well.
yeah, and I think as well as just with regards to the US, it is actually the Oath Keepers. Are we familiar with the Oath Keepers?
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, also,
Vaguely.
also
Yeah.
riots in Mexico. Riots in
Yeah.
Mexico.
The Oath Keepers have actually said that they will that if Trump is impeached, they will basically view any new Democrat administration as being a domestic enemy. And
Rise up, gang leaders.
And on top of that,
Yeah.
you also had an ex-Marine. I'm not sure if this was covered earlier on. It might have been. You had an ex-Marine who showed up on a podcast who was basically detailing how veterans and 3%ers like Oathkeeper militias could use a delivery app to find the home addresses of anti-fascists and basically kill them in their beds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, like, the rhetoric in the US is beginning to heat up, and the rhetoric in the UK is also beginning to heat up because you have had the British Parliament who have basically chastised Boris Johnson for the language he's been using. He's been using a lot of phrases like traitor, surrender, coward, etc., etc. Now, and you've kind of got Labour who are saying, it's like, oh, please don't call us traitors. It's bad. It gets our feelings hurt. But the thing is, the truth of the matter is, the more you start using languages more you start using language like that, the more that language becomes the norm. And when when it's basically like you're basically shouting knives at the other person. And when that happens as well as in the UK, I honestly, because the thing is, like, everyone I've talked to, well, not everyone, but like a fair amount of leftists, particularly in America, seem to think that Brexit's not really going to happen. Corbyn's going to get voted in. There's going to be a general election. Corbyn's going to win it, and he's going to call the whole thing off.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, they seem to think.
No. Fucking local union organizer of the Greens calls his social democratic equivalent a class traitor.
But yeah,
Oh,
god damn. But yeah, the whole thing with like, the whole thing with Brexit is at this point there's no avoiding it. Like, it is a bad thing, no doubt, but the whole thing with Brexit is we cannot avoid it now. Because we've left it dangling for so long, because people have gotten so pissed off about it and so frustrated by the lack of progress from both the Liberal Democrats and, well, not from both from both Labour and the Conservatives. Because here's the thing, Labour haven't even had an official position throughout this whole fucking thing. Labour have sat on the fucking sidelines. They have, because they have, Labour and Corbyn's main raison d'etre is getting into power, and he is willing to send the country to hell to get it. And the thing is, like, this has backfired because now most of the country is sick, fed up of him. They are sick of Labour, and the really fucking sad thing is, the only way we can get out of this fucking, the only way that we can get out of this fucking, or the only way the country is going to get out of the whole, permanent stasis is through no deal. Like, and that's not desirable, and I'm not for it. But realistically speaking, it's the only thing that can happen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, we as leftists, I think, need to stop trying to stop it from happening and start preparing to defend our fucking comrades, because that's the thing. Every minute that we live in delusion that this is not going to happen, we're going to be able to stop it, is another moment where we could have been preparing for the inevitable and comrades and our friends and our families from the hell that is going to come.
Okay, so to add to that, everyone who can, and I don't just mean legally, everyone who has the capability, get a gun.
Yep.
Secondly, get food networks and water networks going, because if you run out of food, you'll only be able to shoot for about a week, 2 weeks max. And if you run out of water, you're able to shoot for 3 days, no matter how many bullets you have. On another note, I found out that Donald Trump has now promised Xi Jinping silence on Hong Kong during the trade talks.
Very interesting, I find that. Nothing at all about to happen is. Ignore those Type 99s, too.
Ooh.
No true documents
allowed to get
at
away
all
with
are
it.
happening.
Allowed to get away with crimes against humanity, I am.
See, guys,
Must fuel my ketamine addiction, I must.
It has to happen on a Wednesday because it's War Crime Wednesday.
No, nothing going to happen on Wednesdays.
Nothing
Wednesday is nothing time. Nothing is going to happen.
Wednesday! Come and watch nothing.
It's just like, have you guys seen the Simpsons movie? When the dome gets over Springfield and it's like,
Oh
hey
my God.
buddy, sometime somewhere later people are going to come and discover. It's like, don't worry about that. We found a way to take you off the map. As it cuts to a guy in a car with a GPS, it's like, coming up on your right, beep, nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nothing.
Yet nothing. Magic Conch. What is going to happen? Nothing.
Uh,
Is there anything else
Terrorism
news-wise you guys want to talk
Tuesday.
about?
Terrorism Tuesday, War Crime Wednesday.
We do
Mutilation
also,
Monday.
We do. Let me just give me 1 second. I'll just have a quick browse through the news.
Love me a good white phosphorus weekend. It's a great
Oh yeah,
day.
of course. We do. Let me think. There's obviously I think. I'm actually trying to think of things we can actually discuss.
I have something that Dip Dab will probably like to discuss.
What's that?
Yeah. It's in Green Room.
All right. Let's see.
Oh, the Xinjiang.
Oh, Xinjiang. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna post something in the chat, and I want anybody who wants to actually read sources compiled by a PhD in Central Asian Studies to read the fucking sources. So I've done my research. I have a whole fucking Google Doc of sources linked by our boy Darren Byler on Twitter, who I really want to get on the show at some point. But if you go to one of the things on this, there is a how do I put it? A database of people who are talking about people that have gone missing. It's all testimonies by people who are saying that they've lost somebody in Xinjiang. Over 5,000 testimonies. And I believe it's held by some Xinjiang like academic group. And these are written by people from China, people not from China, people from America, people from the Middle East, Europe, rest of Asia, and Africa as well. Some Australians. Like this is worldwide. Xinjiang is a crisis. No, China's not trying to eradicate Islam in China. They're trying to eradicate Uyghur Islam, specifically because Uyghur Islam is specifically ethno-religious, basically.
It's got a nationalist aspect to it as well.
No, I mean not fully. It's more just we're not Han. It's not like nationalist. They just want to be left alone by the Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
Because okay, historians have a term for a place in China called China proper, and that is very, very central coastal China. Xinjiang is very, very far away from there because Xinjiang used to be referred to as Eastern
That's
Turkestan.
East Turkestan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Xinjiang in Mandarin means new province. That is because the Hai Qing era, which is roughly 1700s, the Kangxi or Qianlong Emperor, I cannot remember which one, went on
I
a
think the former.
fucking
The former was.
conquest of Central Asia and extended China's reach into the main trade routes in Central Asia, the remnants of the Silk Roads. It just so happened that Xinjiang, Kyrgyz, and Dzungars lived in that region. I think we'll all know about Kyrgyzstan and then Turkestan, the two places I'm talking about. No one knows about Dzungarstan because the Dzungars got wiped out in the Dzungar genocide in the 1750s by the emperor. But Xinjiang is not Chinese. They speak a different language, hold different cultural beliefs, and are completely divergent in the sense that they aren't Sinitic. They are, I believe, Turkic.
Yeah.
China has had a very good time with assimilating minority groups in China proper. See the Tungusic Manchu. The Manchus do still retain some cultural autonomy, but they're also an endangered culture and they have an endangered language. I was watching a thing about schools in Xinjiang right now, and they were having them do calligraphy, and one of the things that I saw show up again and again was calligraphy of Wa'ai 中国. I love China. They were instructed basically to wrote calligraphy 我爱中国. I love China over and over and over again. Footage of them being forced to bow to a Confucius. Mind you, still fully stand by my thing that China's Neo-Confucian right now.
Oh boy, we're having bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dip, we're having really bad interference. Hold on.
Alright.
That might be on your end, actually.
Yeah. There's also something
Not good
completely unrelated. Completely unrelated. I just remembered what I wanted to say. A motion is actually passing Parliament ban communist symbolism.
Then we'll make new ones.
Oh yeah, that's gonna go great.
Then we shall make new ones.
Especially wasn't like
I don't know if it's actually going to pass because half the political parties centre-left in Central Europe would have to ban themselves.
But yeah, the really interesting thing is like when I was Google translating the article because it comes from the French slash Belgian, like it comes from the Western European group. But when I translate it to English, it's
I will say this: there is always a motion in Parliament.
Yeah, the Chinese are trying to take the stream down.
In this is nothing new. This
victims of communism memorial foundation, please cry hard.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Well, I have found an actual recording of what Xi Jinping dealing with Hong Kong, and I will play it right now.
Yes.
Crush my cock with a rock, I must. Okay, here we go.
Right, okay. Comrades, brothers, sisters, friends. I feel like this is my obligation to tell you, but I'm at half-mast.
Alright, fellas, I think
Can I help you the rest of the way?
This is mine.
I'm sorry.
Here they come. Here they come.
Oh boy.
Alright,
Peter,
Here they come.
we need 3 people to skip fucking.
Alright, guys, I think we're good. We've been going for almost 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did pretty good.
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
me to do an outro?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the world's on fire more than usual.
Blessed is the flame.
Everything is sort of just coming apart at the seams, and concepts that have seemed invincible for the past 50-something years are coming apart at the seams faster than we can keep up with them.
Oh yeah. We didn't only hit play on history, we hit the fucking
Fast
forward button.
Yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
here, comrade.
Prager Bussy in the chat, does EML condone CBT? EML condones consensual CBT.
As in cognitive. Oh, okay, right. For you're. I thought you were meaning cognitive behavioral therapy, and I'm like, no.
Cock and ball culture is cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's be real.
I mean, yeah, but like, here's the thing: I endorse one. I don't. I endorse one. I don't endorse the other. I'll let you guys decide which one is.
Now here's the thing.
The world.
Give me enough reading on Wikipedia, and I could probably administer both.
Jesus fucking Christ.
All right. Let me do the outro.
Alright.
It just,
I don't
Let me-
believe
let's
it
do
is
it.
time to end just yet.
no.
Because
Let
we
me.
need to accept that this is the end of history, but there will be more history to be made.
Yes.
Always
There's
the end
no
of history. To make it fittingly,
The world on fire is.
And
EML, not violence, condoned us. That was a fucked up sentence. That was not your
Yeah.
grammar. Hold on.
EML does not support violence.
I
But
would
we're
also
not gonna condemn it.
I would like to say, comrades, now that we are truly, now that the face of capitalism is being torn off of its skull and we are beginning to see what lies behind the visage, and now that the flames are being lit all over the world, now
Hold
is
on,
in.
let me check. God damn it, it's Henry Kissinger. God damn it.
I would like to say now is the perfect time to build bridges, build mutual aid, build solidarity. Obviously, there is no use in trying to make all of society anarchist or communist, well, anarchist and communist right now. But gather your friends, gather your comrades, gather those who are already radical, and build the new Underground Railroad.
You know what
Yeah,
else is...
and when shit hits
Yeah.
the fan, you'll be the ones leading by example.
Yes.
And here's the thing. Even if people aren't currently on board with you ideologically, we've seen this happen in Hong Kong. If you're leading by example like that, they'll tend to follow.
Yes, and I would
They'll
like
see it in action and be like, hey, that's not so bad.
And I would like to close off my piece with a quotation from Chairman Mao Zedong. Everything under heaven is in utter chaos. The situation is excellent, comrades.
You know what else it's time for?
What?
It's time for Henry Kissinger to fucking die.
It's been that for 40
Please.
years.
Literally, drop him into Cambodia and give every single Cambodian person an axe. See how long his body lasts.
You could drop him in Vietnam first, I think.
Just drop him in a general region, to be quite honest, and arm every single person in that region with the choice of either a knife, a machete, an axe, or a screwdriver.
Hypothetically,
We're all
because EML does not condone violence.
Yeah, but we're not going to condemn it either.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright.
Now,
Anyway,
now
Peter, do you have closing words?
I think we better wait for me to do the because I reckon mine is the perfect note to end on. So does anyone else want to go before me?
It's going to be nuclear war. We all know it's going to be nuclear war.
Not quite. Who else? Is there anyone else who wants to go before I close out the stream?
Senna?
go for it.
I think we all said something.
Okay.
I'm good.
Go on, Senna, say something. Be profound.
Or cute.
There we go. That's the best you get.
I was very
Okay.
profound, thank you.
Alrighty. So I'd like to end it on the fact that, like everyone said, there is a distinct shift, shall we say, in the dialectical advance. We are not just putting the play button on, as we said. We are fast forwarding. I would say we are going further. We are, ladies and gentlemen, accelerating. And memes aside, this is going to go one of two ways. Either we are going to see a massive grassroots upheaval of society and eventually the collapse of the capitalist system and a proletarian revolution, the outcome of which we cannot be sure. Whether it is the fascists or we who prevail, that is up to us. But the other way, of course, is the complete destruction of our ecosystem and of our planet and of the structure of society itself by other means, either by environmental collapse or by thermonuclear war. And while I would say that everything that's going wrong and everything's going to shit at this time, things may seem without hope, things may seem dark, and we may be in for really rough times ahead, I would like to quote a man who is very close to my heart.
Is it John
It is
Bolton?
inevitable. It is inevitable. These forces will destroy half of humanity. it will destroy immense human riches. It is very possible that atomic war, conventional war, and in our case, environmental collapse, will provoke a true inferno on Earth. But we will not impede communism, for destruction always comes before creation. Homero Romulu Cristalli Frassinelli, otherwise known as J. Posadas. We have been Evening with Comrades, ladies and gents. I've been hosting So Acceleration, and all I have to say is, we're demonetized anyway, so fuck it. Have a good night, a good day, wherever you are.
So Sugabra first.
See ya.
See you next week.
Yeah,
So
see ya.
Have a good
Sugabra
one.
Laikava Moharachan.